Hey, my name is Johanna Torres. I am a current senior at Colonial High School.
And today, we're going to be talking about one of the most important planets in the entire Milky Way galaxy, Earth, our home. Earth is home to 7.5 billion people, but how do all of these people affect our gorgeous planet? Well, I'm glad that you've asked. Typically, all these people affect our gorgeous planet through something known as the carbon cycle. The typical carbon cycle starts with a producer, sunlight, CO2, as well as an ocean. Producers tend to take CO2 from the air and create energy through a process known as photosynthesis. Photosynthesis tends to yield something known as oxygen, which helps other organisms breathe. The producer then becomes food for other organisms such as cows to consume and also have energy of their own. However, these other organisms do also release CO2 into the air through a process known as respiration. Cows, just like every other organism, typically create waste. Waste, which is broken down through a process known as decomposition. Decomposition can go one of two ways. It can either be turned into fossils, or it can become organic particles, which go through the aquifer, which is underwater, and then also provide nutrients for the producers back up, so then they'll be able to take in more CO2 and do more photosynthesis. However, not all of the CO2 is absorbed through photosynthesis. A lot of it goes back into the ocean through atmospheric dissolution. This is what a normal carbon cycle is supposed to look like. But we do have to remember that Earth is home to 7.5 billion people who tend to drive cars as well as use factories to manufacture things that they need in their everyday lives. This is where fossil fuels become extremely important. Fossils can be used as oil or as coal. Oil tends to be used as gas for a car, which typically leads out a lot of exhaustion, and coal tends to be used for factories, which also leads out exhaustion. A lot of the exhaustion leads to the production of a lot of CO2, which goes back into the ocean through atmospheric dissolution. However, not all of our CO2 goes back into our ocean. Much of it gets stuck in the atmosphere and then becomes greenhouse gas. This is because we are letting out much more CO2 than our carbon cycle can withstand, and we simply aren't taking out as much CO2 as we need to. So why exactly is this important? It affects us because the more carbon emission that we have through exhaustion, the more atmospheric dissolution that we'll have to go through, as well as greenhouse gases that will be created. More atmospheric dissolution means that the acidity of oceans will rise. Our oceans are made up of different zones that have different organisms that can withstand different acidities. A rise in acidity would get rid of many of the organisms that can't withstand that kind of acidity, meaning that the more carbon emission that we have, the higher that our acidity will be, and the less organisms that we will have. This is why it is important for us to regulate the CO2 emissions that we are emitting to help protect our marine life as well as our home, Earth.